He walked into the lobby at exactly 9:17 p.m., suitcase rolling behind him, wearing a charcoal gray coat and a polite, practiced smile. The strange part wasn't TM checking in, it was that ID checked him in the night before. At first I thought it was a mistake. Hotels get regulars all the time, business travelers who book multiple nights. But what made me freeze was the system. Room 407 was already assigned to him, keycard active, fully paid for. Yet here he was again, sliding a credit card across the counter like it was his first night. Same name, same photo on his ID, same polite, almost too perfect smile. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Welcome back, Mr. Holloway. Are you extending your stay?" He tilted his head, confused. "Back?" His voice was calm, but the way he said it made my stomach tighten. "No, this is my first night here." The system wouldn't let me double book the same room, so I gave him 512. As soon as he turned and wheeled his suitcase to the elevator, I checked the cameras. Room 407's feed showed him already inside, lying on the bed, scrolling on his phone, his suitcase propped against the wall. My mouth went dry. I rewound the footage. He'd entered the room at 9:19 p.m., 2 minutes after I had checked him in the night before, perfectly on schedule. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe he had a twin. Maybe it was some glitch with the recordings. But as the night dragged on, I couldn't shake the image of him smiling at me across the counter, while another him lay comfortably in bed upstairs. At 2 a.m., when the graveyard silence of the hotel pressed in, and I could hear the vending machine humming down the hall, the phone rang. "Front desk," I answered, trying to mask my nerves. A man's voice came through, low and urgent. "There's someone in my room." It was Mr. Holloway, room 407. I froze, eyes flicking to the monitor. The camera showed him pacing the room, holding the receiver, looking toward the door as if he expected it to burst open at any moment. "Stay on the line," I said, reaching for the security radio. But before I could, the lobby doors hissed open. He walked in again, same gray coat, same suitcase, same calm smile. He moved toward the counter like nothing was wrong. "I need to check in," he said softly, as if repeating a script. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. On the line, the man in 407 whispered, "Don't give him a key." The man in front of me leaned forward, lowering his voice. "He doesn't belong here." I hung up the phone. My skin prickled, the air around me heavy and stifling, like the humidity before a storm. When I looked back up, the lobby was empty. No footsteps, no sound of the doors sliding shut. Just silence. I checked the monitors again. Room 407, empty. The bed neatly made, the suitcase gone. Room 512, also empty. Lights off, blinds drawn. Both rooms still marked as occupied in the system, charges fully paid. I was breathing hard now, knuckles white against the desk. I tried to convince myself I was overtired, maybe hallucinating. But then the phone rang again. Same extension. Room 9, the old gutted room we'd sealed off last year for renovations. I didn't answer. Couldn't. The ringing stopped on its own. For a few seconds, the hotel was silent again. Then, faintly through the monitor speakers, I heard the elevator ding. Doors sliding open. Suitcase wheels on carpet, and Mr. Holloway stepping out into the hall. But this time something was different. His movements weren't smooth, weren't natural. His legs bent wrong as he walked, like a marionette tugged on strings. The suitcase dragged behind him, wheels squealing against the carpet. He moved straight down the hall, glancing at every camera as though he knew I was watching. Then, at the very end, he stopped, lifted his head, and smiled. Right into the camera lens. The feed flickered, cut to static, then returned. Empty hallway. I sat there until sunrise, every hair on my body standing on end, waiting for the sound of wheels on carpet. By the time the day manager arrived, both rooms had reset in the system. No charges, no guests, no record of Mr. Holloway ever being there. When I tried to explain, my manager didn't laugh, didn't roll his eyes. He just looked at me with a strange heaviness and said, "You saw him too." I asked what he meant, but he didn't answer. just turned away, busying himself with paperwork, like the subject was closed. I left that job not long after. But sometimes late at night when I'm home, and everything is still, I hear it. The soft rolling of suitcase wheels over faded carpet. They stop just outside my bedroom door. Waiting. And in the silence, I swear I can hear a man's voice, polite and practiced, whispering through the dark. I need to check in. He came back from the elevator pale and trembling, swearing up and down that he had just delivered a tray of food to a guest on the 14th floor. The problem was simple. Our hotel only had 13. I worked the late shift at the front desk. Most nights were quiet, just drunks stumbling in from the bar across the street or the occasional guest locked out of their room. That night, though, the dining room called down. They said a tray had gone missing, charged to a room that didn't exist. The waiter, a new kid named Alex, walked over a few minutes later. His uniform was rumpled, hands shaking. He told me he'd gotten a call for room service, club sandwich, glass of red wine. Nothing unusual. He rode the elevator up, wheeled the cart down the hall, and stopped at the door the guest had given, 1412. Only, when the doors opened, he realized the floor was wrong. The carpet wasn't the same deep maroon. The wallpaper was older, peeling in strips. And the air, he said it smelled damp like mildew and cigarette smoke. Still, he knocked. The door opened right away like the man had been waiting. Pale skin, dark circles under his eyes, but friendly enough. He smiled, handed Alex a crisp $20, and told him to keep the change. Said he appreciated quick service. Alex left, rattled but relieved, until he got back in the elevator and saw the panel. The highest button was 13. When he came to me, his eyes darted to the security monitors. I checked every feed twice. No 14th floor. No record of a charge from room 14 on 12. We tried to laugh it off, but Alex wouldn't go near the elevators again. He swore the man was real. His hand brushed mine when he tipped me, he whispered. He was warm, breathing. Around 3 a.m. OS, when the lobby was empty, I heard the service phone ring. Not the front desk phone, the one used only by guests direct from their rooms. The screen flashed. Room 1412. I didn't want to answer, but my body moved on its own. A man's voice, calm and polite. The wine was wonderful. Send another. I sat frozen, staring at the phone, the faint hiss of static filling the line. Then softly the voice added, "Don't let him stop bringing it." The call cut. On the monitor for half a second I swore I saw a new hallway. A narrow corridor where there shouldn't have been one. Faded carpet, wallpaper peeling, a door with a brass number, 1412. By the time I blinked, it was gone. The next morning, Alex didn't show up for work. When housekeeping went to his room, it was empty. The bed untouched, his things gone. But the cart he pushed down the hallway the night before, it was parked outside the supply closet. On top, a half-empty glass of red wine, still warm. Every night, no matter how tightly I latched it, the closet door in my hotel room stood open by morning. At first, I thought I was sleepwalking, a rational, harmless explanation. But on the third night, when it was open wide and something inside whispered my name, I stopped telling myself lies. It started simple, a week-long work trip. I booked a room in a mid-range hotel just outside the city. Nothing fancy, but clean enough with decent Wi-Fi and a free breakfast. My room was on the 6th floor, tucked at the far end of the hallway. Standard layout: bed, desk, flat-screen TV, a bathroom to the right, and across from that, a small closet with old wooden folding doors that groaned when you moved them. I remember thinking the place had a certain stillness. Not quiet in the peaceful sense, more like the kind of silence you get in places that have been empty too long. You know what I mean? Like the walls were listening. Anyway, the first night I unpacked right away. I like to settle in. Hung up my shirts, folded pants in the drawer, shoes lined up. The closet was shallow, barely deep enough for hangers, but it had a metal rod and some hooks. I shut the folding doors gently and latched them. The latch was old brass, slightly bent, but it clicked into place. Seemed fine. I went to bed early that night, exhausted from travel. Around 3 a.m., I stirred awake and saw the closet door slightly cracked, maybe a couple inches. Nothing dramatic, but enough to be noticeable in the moonlight spilling through the blinds. I groaned, figured I hadn't latched it properly, got up, shut it again, and pressed the latch until I heard the click. Didn't think too much of it. The second night was when I started feeling uneasy. Same thing, middle of the night I woke up. Only this time the gap in the closet was wider, almost a foot. I could see the edge of my clothes inside faintly swaying like there was a breeze, which didn't make sense. There were no windows open, no vents nearby, but the air definitely felt cooler, like a faint draft had slipped out and settled over my skin. I shut the doors again, this time pushing hard until I felt the latch dig into place. Even pulled on it once to make sure it held. Told myself it was just faulty hardware. I didn't really believe that. By the third night I was jumpy. I kept glancing at the closet every few minutes while watching TV. Before bed, I tested the latch 3 separate times. It held, solid, no give. I left the bathroom light on. Didn't admit to myself why, but at exactly 2:47 a.m., I sat bolt upright. Something had woken me. Soft, like the shift of weight or the creak of a floorboard. I turned my head toward the closet and froze. The doors were wide open, and the clothes inside were moving again. Barely. Just enough that the hangers scraped against the metal rod with a sound like fingernails on glass. I got up slowly, heart pounding. My throat felt tight. The air was wrong again, colder than before. And there was a smell now, damp, earthy, like wet leaves or the soil in a graveyard after rain. I turned on the lamp beside the bed, flooding the room with warm yellow light. The closet was empty except for my clothes. Still, I dragged the heavy desk chair across the room and jammed it under the handles. The legs dug into the carpet. I pushed until I was sure it wouldn't move easily. Then I sat back on the edge of the bed and stared at the closet for a long time. I didn't sleep. By the 4th night, I was a mess, barely functioning at work, red-eyed, shaky. I kept checking the time, dreading the hours ahead. That night, I latched the closet tight again and shoved the chair under the doors like before. But this time, I also stacked my suitcase in front of it for good measure. I left all the lights on, even turned the TV on mute, hoping the flicker would make the room feel less empty. Eventually, I dozed off out of sheer exhaustion. I don't know how long I was out, but the sound that woke me was unmistakable. The scrape of wood against carpet. I snapped awake, adrenaline flooding my veins. The chair was tipped over on its side. My suitcase had been pushed back a full foot. And the closet, open. Again. Wider than ever. My clothes, every last piece, lay crumpled on the floor, like they'd been yanked off the hangers in one violent motion. I didn't move. I couldn't. My eyes locked on the darkness inside the closet. It wasn't just shadow. It looked deeper, like the closet had no back wall anymore. Just darkness stretching into something that didn't belong in a hotel room. And from inside, just beyond where the light reached, I heard it. A whisper. My name. Soft, careful, as if testing the syllables. I held my breath, heart hammering so hard I thought it would give me away. Then I heard it again, longer this time, like it was savoring the sound, rolling it around in its throat. That was the last straw. At dawn, I packed what was left, stuffed my wrinkled clothes into my bag, and went straight downstairs to check out. I didn't bother showering, didn't even look back. When the front desk clerk asked why I was leaving early, I muttered something about a broken latch and poor sleep. She glanced up from the computer, frowning slightly. "Which room?" "608, I said. She paused. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. Then she gave me a strange look. "6th floor, are you sure?" "Yeah, end of the hall." She hesitated. "That section's supposed to be closed, for renovations. Hasn't been in use for weeks." I stared at her, heart sinking. I've been staying there since Monday. She looked pale now, blinking rapidly. Then she said something I'll never forget. Sir, we don't have a room 608.